It was a quiet evening in the small town of Maplewood. The streets were calm, and the sky was turning from orange to purple as the sun set behind the mountains. People were finishing up their daily routines, and everything seemed normal. But just as the clock struck 10 p.m., something strange happened. A loud, deafening crash broke the silence. It came from the forest on the outskirts of town. Windows rattled and the ground shook. People rushed out of their homes looking up at the sky. What they saw was beyond anything they could ever imagine. In the distance, a large, glowing object was descending slowly from the sky. It looked like a spaceship, but no one had ever seen anything like it before. The craft was shaped like a perfect oval, with glowing blue and purple lights circling its edges. It moved silently, with no sound of engines or machinery, yet it seemed to hover effortlessly above the ground. People were terrified. Some ran to their homes, locking the doors behind them. Others stood frozen, unable to take their eyes off the strange object. A few brave souls took out their phones and started recording, hoping to capture the once-in-a-lifetime event. The spaceship finally landed in a large open field near the woods, its lights flickering as it settled onto the ground. Stopped moving, everything became eerily still. No sound, no movement, just an unnatural calm that seemed to fill the air. Suddenly, the hatch of the spaceship opened. A bright light poured out from the inside, making it hard for anyone to see. What was happening? Then, through the light, a figure appeared. At first it was difficult to make out, but as the figure stepped out into the moonlight, the crowd gasped in shock. She was beautiful. She was tall, with long, flowing hair that seemed to glow in the dark. Her skin was flawless, pale yet shimmering. Under the light, she wore a suit that looked unlike anything anyone had ever seen. It was sleek and metallic, shimmering in shades of silver and blue. She looked calm, composed, as if she had been to Earth 100 times before. Her eyes, though, were the most striking feature. They were large, deep, and glowing with a faint green light. They seemed to look directly into the souls of everyone who dared to stare. No one could look away, as if her gaze had a powerful effect on them. The woman, who was now clearly an alien, stepped down from the ship and into the field. She didn't seem to be afraid of the crowd gathering around her. In fact, she seemed to expect it. Slowly, she raised one hand and waved, as if greeting them. The people stood in stunned silence. Some had never seen anything like her before. While others couldn't believe what they were seeing, they whispered to each other, some scared, some fascinated. Who was she? What did she want? Why had she come? And then, as if reading their minds, she spoke. "Greetings, Earthlings," she said, her voice smooth and melodic. Though her lips barely moved. "I am Zella. I come in. Peace." Her words were soft, but they carried an undeniable power. They seemed to calm the crowd, even if only for a moment. Some of the people took a step forward, unsure of what to do. Others stayed back, watching cautiously from a distance. Zella raised her hand again, this time signaling for everyone to stay calm. "I come from the planet Zilvia," she continued. "My mission here is to establish peaceful relations between our worlds. I have been chosen as an emissary for my people." The crowd murmured with confusion and curiosity. Peaceful relations? An emissary? What did that even mean? One man in the crowd, a local farmer named Ethan, took a step forward. He was tall, with short, messy brown hair and a calm demeanor. He had been watching the woman from the moment she landed, intrigued by her beauty, but also filled with questions. Are you... Are you really an alien?" Ethan asked, his voice shaking slightly but still loud enough for her to hear. Zella turned her glowing eyes toward him. A faint smile touched her lips. "Yes," she replied simply. "I am not from your world, but I wish to understand it. To learn." "From you?" The crowd fell into an even deeper silence. This was no joke. This wasn't some elaborate hoax. The alien woman in front of them was real. She had come from the stars. But as Zella stood there, Ethan couldn't help but feel something. Strange in his chest, a pull, a connection. It was almost as if she wasn't just here for diplomacy, but for something else entirely. There was an intensity in her gaze that made him feel like she was looking right into his soul. He shook it off, trying to focus on the situation at hand. As the crowd continued to watch her in awe, Zella's expression softened. "I understand that this is difficult to believe," she said, almost as if she were speaking to him alone. "But I am here to help, to show you that there is more beyond your world. A universe full of wonders." Ethan's heart raced. He wasn't sure if he should be scared or excited, but one thing was clear: his life was about to change forever. The air was thick with tension as the crowd watched Zella from a distance, her presence undeniable. As the moonlight bathed her in an ethereal glow, it felt as if the very night held its breath. Ethan stood among the onlookers, unsure of what to make of this situation. Was she truly an alien, or had they all been swept up in some strange dream? Zella's gaze swept across the crowd, her eyes glowing faintly as she scanned the faces around her. It was almost as if she was measuring each person's reaction, trying to gauge their level of fear or curiosity. Despite her calm demeanor, there was something unsettling in the way she observed them, like she wasn't just looking at people, but at something deeper. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that she was looking right at him. Her eyes locked onto his, and for a brief moment, everything else faded away. He was caught in her gaze, unable to look away. It wasn't like anything he had ever felt before. There was a warmth in her eyes, a certain familiarity that made him feel like he knew her, even though he had never met her in his life. Finally, she spoke again, her voice clear and melodic, though still strangely distant. "I know this is overwhelming," she said, her words echoing softly in the air. "But I ask for your patience. I am here to learn, not to take from you. I need your help to understand your world." Her words hung in the air, leaving a ripple of confusion in their wake. Help us understand your world, Ethan thought. Did that even mean she came from another planet, and now she wanted to learn about Earth? The idea seemed so foreign, so impossible, but there she was, standing in front of him, glowing with an otherworldly light. She continued, "My people, the Zilvians, have observed your planet for many years. We have watched from afar, studied your culture, your advancements, but now we wish to engage with you directly. My mission is simple. I seek knowledge, and through knowledge, we will find peace." The crowd stirred, the weight of her words sinking in. Some people whispered among themselves, trying to make sense of the situation. Ethan, however, couldn't help but feel the strange pull toward Zella intensify. He took a cautious step forward, his heart pounding in his chest. There was something magnetic about her presence, something that was both comforting and unnerving. At the same time, the logical part of his mind screamed that this was impossible, that she was a trick or some elaborate illusion. But the other part of him, the part that felt a strange connection to her, couldn't deny that there was something real about this encounter. "Why Earth?" Ethan asked, his voice steady despite the storm of thoughts in his head.
Out of
"All the planets in the universe, why choose us? I come here now." Zella's gaze softened, and for a moment it seemed like she was lost in thought. "We did not choose you.
Ow.
Our mission was not to single you out, but we have observed that your species is at a crossroads. Your world is changing, and we believe that through cooperation, we can help you avoid the mistakes of the past." The weight of her words hit Ethan like a cold wave. Changing, he thought. Mistakes of the past? The world had been in turmoil? That much was true, but could an alien really offer them solutions? Or was this just another form of manipulation? "Cooperation," Ethan repeated, his voice almost a whisper. "You want us to help you? Understand us better? But why?
What's
In it for you?" Zella smiled, a calm yet unreadable smile, as if she had anticipated his question. "What's in it for us," she said slowly, "is the survival of your planet. Your species is on a path that will lead to destruction, but we can help guide you if you are willing to listen." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. The thought that humanity's survival depended on some alien race and alien diplomat no less seemed impossible. But Zella's words held an undeniable weight. There was an authority in her voice, something that suggested she was speaking the truth. Her gaze never left him as she spoke again. "There are those among your world who would rather see it burn. They will not welcome us, nor our message. But you, Ethan, you're different. You have the power to change things, to lead others to understand that peace is possible." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Why me? The thought echoed in his mind. Why had she singled him out? He was just an ordinary man, a farmer with no special skills or powers. Yet she was looking at him as though he held the key to the future of the world. Before he could respond, a sudden noise broke the silence, a loud hum like the sound of an engine starting. Zella turned her head, her eyes narrowing, and the crowd instinctively took a step back. Something was coming. Ethan's chest tightened. Whatever this was, it wasn't over yet. In fact, it was only just beginning. The days that followed Zella's arrival felt like a blur to Ethan. The once quiet and predictable life he had known in Maplewood had been replaced by a world filled with uncertainty and questions. Every time he saw Zella, something inside him stirred a strange mix of awe, fascination, and an unshakable sense that his life was no longer his own. Zella had become a constant presence in the town. Though she was careful to remain distant from the public eye, her influence was undeniable. People began to see her not as an alien, but as someone who had come to help, to share knowledge. Her calm, assured manner had disarmed even the most skeptical of townsfolk. Yet Ethan couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that there was something hidden beneath the surface. It started with the dreams. At first, they were subtle dreams of Zella, standing in the field, bathed in an otherworldly light, her eyes glowing. With a soft green hue, he had dreamed of her reaching out to him, but every time he tried to speak, he found his voice lost in the silence. Then, one night, the dreams became more vivid. He saw her again, but this time, she was standing on a bridge, gazing at a vast, swirling galaxy above her. Her eyes were filled with sorrow, as though she knew something terrible was coming. She turned to face him. A deep, echoing voice spoke in his mind. "You must come. You must understand what is at stake." Ethan woke up with a start, his heart pounding in his chest. The dream felt so real, like a warning. He sat up in bed, staring into the darkness, trying to shake off the feeling of dread that lingered in the air. It wasn't just the dreams that unsettled him. During the day, he found himself thinking about Zella constantly. Her words, her gaze, even the soft glow of her skin, everything about her seemed to pull him closer, even though he knew he should be keeping his distance. There was a tension between them, an invisible thread that seemed to grow stronger each day. And when she spoke to him, he noticed how her voice lingered in his mind long after their conversations ended. It was as if she was planting thoughts, ideas that he hadn't consciously considered before. One afternoon, as Ethan worked in his fields, he heard a familiar voice calling his name. He turned and saw Zella standing at the edge of the field, her figure almost blending with the sunlight. She had come to speak with him, as she often did. "Ethan," she said, her voice soft but urgent, "there's more you need to know." He wiped his hands on his shirt and walked over to her, his curiosity piqued. "What is it? What's going on, Zella? I can't shake the feeling that something isn't right." She looked at him, her expression serious. But there was a flicker of something else, something hidden, something she wasn't telling him. "You are right," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I have been holding back. Mission here, it is not just about peace. It is about survival." Ethan's brow furrowed. Survival. Survival from what? She took a step closer, lowering her voice so that only he could hear. "My people, we are not the only ones watching. Earth. There are others. Those who would see your planet fall into chaos, who want to control your resources, your technology." Ethan's heart raced. "Are you saying there's an alien threat?" Zella nodded, her eyes darkening. "Yes. The Zilvians are not the only advanced race in this galaxy. There are others more dangerous, more aggressive. They are watching you, waiting for the right moment to strike." Ethan felt a cold shiver run down his spine. The idea of other alien races, some of them hostile, was almost too much to grasp. But there was no mistaking the seriousness in Zella's voice. She wasn't just here to observe or help. She was here to protect. I didn't come to Earth just to offer knowledge, she continued, her voice growing even softer. I came to prevent your destruction. The other races are planning something that could end your civilization. If you don't act quickly, Ethan felt a knot tighten in his stomach. How do you know all of this? And why didn't you tell us sooner? Zella hesitated before answering. Because I wasn't supposed to. My orders were clear. I was to observe, to gather information, and leave without interference. But now I know that I can't just walk away. I can't leave you to face this alone. Ethan looked at her, his mind racing. The weight of her words settled over him like a heavy blanket. He wasn't just dealing with an alien diplomat. He was part of a much larger conflict, one that could change the fate of Earth itself. But why me? He asked, his voice cracking slightly. Why are you telling me all this? What makes me so important? Zella's gaze softened, her eyes glowing brighter. Because you are the one who can make a difference. You are the one who can help others see the truth. The people will listen to you, Ethan. I need you to believe that, and I need you to help me stop what is coming. Ethan stared at her, trying to process everything she had just told him. It seemed impossible, yet the weight of her words told him otherwise. Was in the middle of something far greater than he could have ever imagined. And the more he learned, the more the strange connection between him and Zella seemed to make sense. She was not just an alien diplomat. She was his key to understanding what was at stake before he could say anything. A distant rumble echoed from the sky, a low, ominous sound that seemed to shake the ground beneath their feet. Both Zella and Ethan looked up. Far in the distance, beyond the forest, a faint light appeared in the sky. Someone was coming. The days following Zella's revelation hung heavily in the air. Ethan had never felt more out of place, yet more involved in his entire life. The peaceful life he had known was slipping through his fingers, replaced by an overwhelming sense of responsibility. As if the universe had decided for him, he found himself in the middle of something far bigger than anything he could understand. Every time he thought he might escape the strange pull he felt towards Zella, it came rushing back. The alien diplomat's words echoed in his mind, reverberating like a distant, haunting melody. You are the one who can help others see the truth. The weight of this responsibility was heavy, like an invisible chain pulling him towards something uncertain. Zella, too, seemed to be battling her own demons. She was no longer the calm, confident figure she had been when she first arrived. There was something different about her, now something broken in the way she held herself. The joy that had once sparkled in her eyes was dimming, replaced by a quiet sorrow. Ethan had noticed it, but it wasn't until today that he saw it clearly. She was struggling with something she hadn't shared with him. It happened during their meeting in the forest. It agreed to meet in a secluded spot away from prying eyes, where they could talk without being interrupted. As Ethan approached the clearing, he found her standing by a small stream, her back to him, gazing into the flowing water. Her silver blue suit glinted in the soft sunlight, but her posture was tense, as though she was carrying the weight of the world. On her shoulders, Zella. Ethan called out softly, unsure of what to say. She didn't turn at first. But when she did, her face was pale, almost fragile. There was a vulnerability in her eyes that he hadn't seen before. Ethan, she said, her voice barely a whisper. I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you sooner. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. What's going on? You've been distant lately. Zella took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. Truth from you. My mission was never just about observing Earth. It wasn't even about peace. Her voice cracked as she continued. It was always about survival. Ethan stepped forward, his confusion deepening. What do you mean? Said you came too. Help us. I did, she said quickly, her eyes welling with tears. But that's not the whole story. I came here to establish contact, yes. But I also came to warn you. She paused, taking another step toward him. My people, the Zilvians, have been monitoring Earth for centuries. We have watched you evolve, but we've also seen your flaws. The other alien races, They see those flaws too, and they are not kind. Ethan's mind raced. The threat of other alien races, more dangerous than the Zilvians, had been lingering in his thoughts. But Zella's words now carried an even heavier meaning. So what does that mean for us? Zella's gaze fell to the ground, her voice heavy with regret. It means that we, the Zilvians, were never meant to be your protectors. We were meant to be your bait. Ethan froze. Bait? What do you mean? I wasn't sent here as just an emissary. I was sent to test humanity, to see if your species was worth saving. If you're worth saving at all. If the others, those who want to destroy you, saw you as a viable threat, or simply as an obstacle, if you failed the test, the Zilvians would not step in to protect you. They would stand by and watch your destruction. Ethan's heart sank. This wasn't just about peace. This was about survival, his survival and humanity's. You're saying, he began, his voice shaking, that everything you've said to me, everything you've told me was a lie? No, Zella responded quickly, her eyes wide with a mix of sadness and fear. Everything I told you is true. I do want to help. But I was never supposed to get involved like this. I wasn't supposed to feel this way. Her voice dropped to a near whisper. I wasn't supposed to care. But I do. I care about you, Ethan. And I can't just let you and your people face this alone. Ethan was stunned. The emotions he had been feeling, the strange pull toward her, the connection that seemed to grow with each passing day suddenly made sense. Zella wasn't just a diplomat. She was someone who had been torn between duty and desire. Between the cold logic of her mission and the warmth of human connection. Zella. Shh. You don't have to do this, Ethan said, stepping closer. You don't have to hide anymore. Can figure this out together. Zella looked up at him, her tears shimmering in the light. I can't stay here forever, Ethan. The council will know what's happened. They'll come for me. If they find out that I've defied them, everything we've worked for will be destroyed. Ethan didn't know what to say. He had never been a hero. He had never been someone to fight for something bigger than himself. But looking into Zella's eyes, he realized that this wasn't just about hurt. It was about all of them. The future of humanity, the future of Earth, might be in their hands. We have to find a way to stop them, he said firmly, his resolve hardening. If they want to destroy us, we'll make sure they never get the chance. Zella's expression softened, a small, almost sad smile tugging at her lips. Perhaps there is hope for you after all. And in that moment, as the weight of their shared responsibility settled over them, they both knew that the real battle was just beginning. The days after Zella's confession were a blur of tension and fear. Every word, every glance seemed to carry the weight of an unspoken truth, one that both Ethan and Zella could no longer ignore. The growing connection between them, once just an odd feeling in the air, had now become a powerful force, pulling them closer to each other, closer to the center of an unimaginable conflict. Zella's words haunted Ethan. I wasn't supposed to care, but I do, it felt. It too, the undeniable pull. But now, as the reality of their situation set in, he couldn't help but wonder if this bond between them was a blessing or a curse. Zella had come to Earth to observe, to offer knowledge, and to test humanity. But in the process she had found something she hadn't expected: human emotion, something her kind had long discarded. She had learned to mimic it, to study it, but never to experience it. Yet now, with Ethan, she was caught in a whirlwind of feelings she didn't know how to control, and that was where the danger lay. On one fateful evening, they met in the forest once again. The forest, once a quiet, secluded place, had now become their secret meeting ground. Stars above were bright, their light casting long shadows on the ground. Zella stood by the stream, her silhouette outlined by the moon. Her posture was tense, her eyes distant. Ethan could sense the weight of something unspoken hanging between them. He approached her cautiously. Zella, we need to talk. She turned to face him, her face softened by the moonlight. But her eyes, they were still filled with turmoil. She opened her mouth, then hesitated, as if the words she needed to say were caught in her throat. "Ethan," she finally said, her voice heavy. "With regret. I'm sorry I never meant for this to happen. My mission. I was never supposed to get close to you. I was never supposed to feel this way." Ethan took a step forward, his heart pounding in his chest. "You don't have to apologize. Feel it too, Zella, but we can't just ignore this. We need to figure out what's going on, what the Zilvians want, what's coming for Earth. This isn't just about us anymore." Zella looked down, her expression tormented. "But it is about us, and that's the problem. I didn't come here to fall in love. I didn't come here to want you, but I do." She took a shaky breath. "I can't ignore that, and now I'm afraid that I've made the wrong choice." The words hung in the air, and for a moment everything seemed to stop. Ethan could see the conflict in her eyes, the struggle between duty and desire. It was a battle that would tear her apart, and it would tear them both apart if they didn't find a way to resolve it. Zella closed her eyes, her voice trembling. "You don't understand? If the Zilvian Council finds out what's happened, they'll come for both of us. They'll see me as a traitor, and they'll destroy everything I've worked for. My people, my kind, they won't allow me to go against them. They'll hunt us down. And if they destroy me..." She looked at him with a sadness he couldn't fully comprehend. "They'll come for you too. They'll think that you're the reason I've gone rogue, that you're the reason I've defied them." Ethan took another step forward, reaching out to her, his voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. "And we fight. We don't give up. We fight together."
Like zealous.
Eyes widened, but there was no smile, no sign of hope. Only the weight of a truth they both knew too well. "You don't understand. If we fight, we risk everything. Not just our lives, but the lives of everyone on Earth. The Zilvians will not tolerate any rebellion. They're too powerful. I cannot protect you from them. I've already risked everything by staying here with you. And now, I don't know if I can control what happens next." The words struck Ethan like a blow. The realization hit him hard. This wasn't just about alien invasions, about stopping a war. It was about something far deeper. Zella had already sacrificed so much to be here to stand by him, but now she was facing the reality that her loyalty to her people, her mission, would cost her everything. "I can't ask you to stay," she said quietly, "and I can't let you be dragged into this mess because of me. You deserve a life free from this chaos, a life that doesn't involve alien threats or diplomatic lies. You deserve better." Ethan reached out and touched her arm gently, his voice firm. "I don't want a life without you, Zella. You're right about one thing. This is bigger than both of us. But if we give up now, then all of it, everything we fought for, will be for nothing." Zella's gaze softened, her heart heavy. She knew he was right. But there was still one thing holding her back, the fear that if she let herself fall any deeper, if she allowed herself to care for him more than she already did, it would destroy them both. "I don't know if I can control it anymore," she whispered, "my feelings for you. They were never part of the plan. And now I fear that what's coming won't just tear us apart, it will tear the universe apart." Ethan took her hands in his voice low but unwavering. "Then let's face it together. Whatever's coming, whatever the Zilvians throw at us, we'll stand strong. You're not alone in this, Zella, and I'm not going anywhere." Zella closed her eyes, her breath shaky. She could feel it, his resolve, his determination. And deep down, she knew he was right. She wasn't alone anymore. She didn't have to carry this burden alone. But the question remained, would their bond be enough to stop the impending storm, or would it only lead to their destruction? And as the night stretched on, they both knew that the time to decide had come. The future of their worlds of Earth and the Zilvians depended on the choices they made in the coming days. The weight of the decision hung over them like a storm cloud, darkening everything around them. Zella had always been confident in her purpose, certain of her duty to the Zilvian Council. But now, faced with the choice between duty and the bond she had formed with Ethan, she was torn in ways she had never imagined. Every instinct she had as an emissary told her to remain detached, to keep her emotions in check, to stay loyal to her people. Yet every moment with Ethan made that seem impossible. The days had passed in a blur of planning, discussions, and constant surveillance. It seemed like the entire town had grown suspicious, as if they could sense the growing unrest that simmered beneath the surface. Ethan, too, had grown restless. They had learned much from each other, Zella, about human emotions.
Ethan.
About the vast dark forces lurking in the universe. But there was only so much they could learn from books and stolen conversations. The real danger was now. One evening, as the sun dipped low behind the mountains, Zella stood by the same stream where they had shared so many conversations. The water shimmered in the twilight, reflecting the vibrant colors of the sky. She looked down at her reflection, her face pale, her eyes tired. She had never felt more lost. Ethan approached quietly, the soft rustling of leaves underfoot the only sound. As he drew near, he could feel the tension radiating off her. It was as if she were a different person, no more fragile, more human, and yet somehow more dangerous. Zella. His voice broke the silence. Are you all right? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stared at the water, as if it could offer her some form of clarity. Finally, she spoke, her voice low and conflicted. I don't know anymore, Ethan. I don't know what's right. I'm supposed to be the one guiding you, the one who holds all the answers. But every time I try to make sense of this, of us, I feel like I'm losing control. Ethan stepped closer, his heart pounding in his chest. You're not losing control. You're just facing something you weren't prepared for. None of us were. But we'll face it together. Her eyes flickered toward him, and for a brief moment, it seemed like the world around them had disappeared. That's just it, Ethan, she said, her voice trembling. I don't know if we can face this together. The Sylvian Council is closing in. They've already sent their agents to Earth. If we continue down this path, they'll destroy everything we've built, everything we've fought for. Ethan reached out, gently touching her arm. And we'll fight back. We'll stand our ground. We've got the knowledge, the power, and we have each other. Zella shook her head, a pained expression crossing her face. It's not that simple. I've already betrayed my people by staying, by caring for you. If they find out what we've become to each other, it will be worse than you can imagine. They'll hunt us down, Ethan. No one will be spared. Ethan's gaze softened. He could feel the weight of her words, the depth of her fear. But he couldn't back down, no, not when so much was at stake. He'd come to trust her, to care for her in ways he never thought possible. And he couldn't walk away. We don't have to do this alone, Ethan said quietly. I don't care what the council thinks. We can create our own path, Zella. I'm with you. And I'll fight to the end for us. Zella turned to face him. Fully, her eyes searching his face for any sign of doubt, but there was none. The unwavering certainty in his voice, the strength that radiated from him, made her question everything she had believed. I don't know if I can forgive myself, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I've put you in so much danger. Ethan, you don't deserve this. Shouldn't have to choose between me and your own survival. Ethan stepped closer, his hand gently cupping her face. Zella, listen to me.
They didn't put me in danger.
We both chose this path. I'm not going to walk away from you. If we have to fight, then we'll fight together. Zella's heart ached as she looked into his eyes. For the first time, she realized how much she had changed since coming to Earth. She had come to observe, to follow orders, and never let herself feel. But Ethan had awakened something in her that she couldn't ignore, something human. Something raw and powerful. I never meant to fall in love with you, she said, her voice breaking with emotion. But now, I can't imagine a future without you, even if it means losing everything. The air between them seemed to shimmer with tension, a charged silence hanging heavy in the space between them. It was as if the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for them to make their choice. And in that moment, Zella knew that there was no going back. She had crossed a line she couldn't uncross. Ethan reached out, taking her hands in his. Then let's face whatever comes together. If we stand strong, we can overcome anything. No matter what the Sylvians throw at us, we'll make sure they know that we're not going down without a fight. Zella's eyes searched his face, her heart pounding in her chest. You're willing to risk everything for me? He nodded without hesitation. Yes, for us. And so, with the weight of the universe bearing down on them, they made their decision. They would face the storm together, no matter what it cost them. Their bond had become more than just an emotional connection. It had become their strength. And as the wind rustled through the trees, they both knew that the true battle was only just beginning. The night had come. The air was thick with tension as Ethan and Zella stood in the heart of the forest, the place where everything had begun. They had spent days preparing, strategizing, and facing the undeniable truth that the moment of reckoning was upon them. Tonight, the Zilvian Council would arrive, an unstoppable force sent to claim Zella, to punish her for her defiance. And with her, they would take everything that had ever meant anything to them. Ethan felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. He had never imagined that his life would spiral into such a tangled mess of alien politics, emotional warfare, and the very survival of humanity. But standing beside Zella, looking into her eyes, he realized one thing. He had made his choice. No matter what came next, he would stand by her. They were in this together, even if it meant risking everything. Zella's gaze was distant, haunted by the events that had led them here. She could feel the approaching presence of the Zilvian fleet, their ships orbiting Earth like shadows waiting to strike. The truth was, Zella had never wanted this. She had never wanted to fall in love with a human, to defy her people, to jeopardize the fragile peace between their worlds. But Ethan had awakened something within her, something she had never allowed herself to feel. And now she would pay the price. Ethan. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper.
Oh.
Do you really understand what you're risking? At her, his face set with resolve. I understand. I understand everything, Zella. But I also understand that I can't live in a world without you. We're in this together, no matter what. Her eyes searched his face, as if looking for any sign of hesitation.
Oh.
But there was none. Ethan's eyes burned with a fierce determination that matched her own. In that moment, the truth was clear. They were no longer just a diplomat and a human. They were two souls bound by something far stronger than any intergalactic mission. Far stronger than any political duty. Then we face them, Zella said, her voice trembling but strong. We face the Zilvian Council together, and we show them that we won't be controlled, no matter the cost. As she spoke those words, a low hum echoed in the distance. A sound that seemed to vibrate through the very earth beneath their feet. The Zilvian ships were approaching. Ethan's pulse quickened, and he turned to look at her, his eyes filled with a mix of fear and determination. We don't have much time. What if they don't listen? What if Zella reached out and placed a hand gently on his chest, silencing him?
Oh.
Then we make them listen. The words hung between them, heavy with both promise and danger. Ethan had no idea what the future held. But in that moment, he knew that no matter what happened, he wouldn't let Zella face it alone. The sound of the ships grew louder, and soon a single Zilvian vessel appeared in the sky, its dark silhouette casting a shadow over the clearing. Its engines hummed with a cold mechanical precision that sent a chill down Ethan's spine. The Zilvian Council had arrived. Zella turned to face Ethan, her expression calm yet resolute. This is it, she said, her voice steady. No matter what happens, remember this. You gave me something I didn't think I could have hope. For that, I will never regret my choice. Ethan nodded, his heart heavy but his resolve unwavering. And you gave me something I didn't think I could have purpose. We'll fight for each other, Zella. We'll fight for humanity. We'll make sure they know we won't be controlled. The Zilvian ship descended slowly, its dark shadow swallowing the light. It landed softly in the clearing, its massive hull glowing with an eerie, otherworldly light. The door of the ship opened, revealing the cold figures of the Zilvian Council tall, posing their faces concealed beneath metallic masks. The air grew thick with tension as they stepped out. Of the ship, their movements precise and calculating, Zella stepped forward. Her gaze locked onto the council as she squared her shoulders. She had never felt more alive, more certain of what needed to be done. She knew that this moment would change everything. I am Zella, emissary of the Zilvian people, she began, her voice steady but powerful. And I stand here before you, not as your servant, but as a woman who has seen the truth. The truth that you are not the only ones who hold the power to decide the fate of Earth. I have made my choice, and I choose humanity. The council's leader stepped forward, his voice cold and mechanical. You have betrayed us, Zella. You have violated the orders given to you. For that, you will be punished. Ethan stepped forward, his voice strong and defiant. We will not let you harm her. We will not let you destroy what we've built together. You can't control us anymore. A tense silence hung in the air as the Zilvian leader considered Ethan's words. The council's eyes glowed beneath their masks, and for a brief moment, it seemed like the very world was holding its breath. Zella looked at Ethan, her eyes filled with emotion. This was the moment of truth. There would be no turning back. Whatever happened next would decide their future and the future of Earth. You will pay the price for your defiance. The council leader finally said, his voice low and ominous. Heart pounded in her chest, but she didn't flinch. She stepped forward, her gaze unwavering. Then let's see what happens when two worlds refuse to be controlled. The Zilvian council shifted, their eyes narrowing. And in that instant, the final battle began, not just for Earth, but for the freedom to choose their own destiny. The choice had been made, and now, fight for survival was about to unfold. As the council's ships hovered overhead, and the first signs of an intergalactic confrontation loomed on the horizon, Ethan and Zella stood united. Together, they were ready to face whatever came their way.